Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyana Habib Ilahi Rabbil Alameen Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam wa ahli baytihi at-tahirin wa la'natu ad-da'im ala a'da'ihim ajma'in. As we are approaching the nights of Qadr and also the martyrdom of Amirul Mu'mineen, as we had promised that we would be looking at the will of Hazrat Amir, which he prescribed after he was injured on the 19th. In a couple of days, it is the 19th of the month, and then which coincides with the first night of Qadr. The nights of Qadr are usually focused towards the Quran, the nuzul of the Quran and the amal of the Quran, and we will link the amal of the Quran or the importance of the Quran with the tradition of Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen himself, or if you want to call the wasiyat of Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen himself. This wasiyat of Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen, as we said, that this is after he was injured. There are other wasiyat as well. Hazrat Amir have done quite a few of wasiyah, quite a few wills that we find in Nahjul Balagha, before he went to Siffin, before the battle, after. But this one which we are talking about tonight is the one which is after he was injured on the 19th. It begins obviously by promoting, by encouraging, by pointing out to the importance of taqwa, because that's the first thing, that is the foundation. As we are also in the month of Ramadan, the verse of the Quran clearly says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam, and the purpose is la'allakum tattaqun, something that you become God-wary, that you become God-conscious, that you have taqwa within yourself. So the wasiyat, the will of Hazrat Amir, also begins with usika bitaqwallah. He says that I warn you, or I make will that you acquire taqwa, that you acquire this God-wariness, that this God consciousness, wa iqam as-salat li waqtiha, and that you perform your prayers upon its time. As we said that we will talk about the Quran, but it's quite important that we also kind of go through the wasiyat bit by bit, perhaps not in detail. We'll just kind of point out to just the outward aspect of it, try to understand it. But when it comes to the Quran, as it's the nights of Qadr, we will look at it in a more detailed way. Now, obviously, taqwa, which means that a person becomes God conscious, that he think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every act that he is doing, that he remembers God in every act that he is doing. Once he remembers God, obviously he will not put his desire first, but he will put the command of God first. Now the nafs is quite a challenge, as there's a saying by Imam Ghazali that he says that never I have seen more difficulty with other than my nafs. So nafs of an insan, of a human being, is the most vulnerable and the most sort of difficult to conquer, to tame. Once you tame it, then obviously then it could do wonders, but taming of it is not that easy. So usika bitaqwallah. So when a person remembers God while carrying out his actions, then he will not remember his desires, but he will put the command of God first. But the nafs is so vulnerable that it camouflages itself by saying, okay, this is the act of God, and I'm doing this action for the sake of God. But at the end of the day, you have the nafs there. You use God as a scapegoat. You use God as a reason to do what you want to do. That requires a great deal of calculation. A person needs to really calculate that. And then, he should carry that action out lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. That's what, true taqwa means, that one really remembers God. And taqwa, as we said earlier, it is something that is active rather than passive. So it is, a person is not just sitting down, closed door, curtained himself, veiled himself from the reality of life, and think that he is pious and he is ascetic. But rather, no, he comes in the field, and then he kind of he wrestles with the society, with the community, and remembers God. As in another hadith, we find that Amir al-Mu'mineen points out to his son, وَعَلَمْ يَا بُنَيَّ, he says, oh bunayya, أَنَّ أَحَبَّ مَا أَنْتَ أَخِذٌ إِلَيَّ مِنْ وَسِيَّةِ تَقْوَى إِلَى اللَّهِ. No, my son, what is something that is lovable to me, and that in the wasiyat, that is taqwa. In the nutshell, in the whole wasiyat, he's saying is taqwa. Take that part. So if you take, it's like a string. When you have a tasbih, there are beads, which are in the tasbih. If you take that sort of string, all the beads will disperse. So taqwa is like that string. If you take that string off, your recitation of Quran will go one side, your praying of salat will go on the other side, your amar bil maruf and nahi anil munkar will be tossed up in the air, your fasting will be, put it in the back burner. So if taqwa is in place, all of these good actions will remain intact, because amar bil maruf nahi anil munkar requires taqwa, our prayers require taqwa, our hajj requires taqwa, our fast requires taqwa. So taqwa, God wariness and God consciousness, it is so important. That's why Hazrat Amir is saying, وَعَلَمْ يَا بُنَيَّ أَنَّ أَحَبَّ مَا أَنْتَ أَخِذٌ إِلَيَّ مِنْ وَسِيَّةِ تَقْوَى اللَّهِ. Oh my son, know that what I love that you take from my wasiyati, akhidun, akhd means to take, ilayya, towards you, min wasiyati, from my wasiyati, it is taqwa Allah, that you take this advice of taqwa. So once a person, that's the most lovable and that's the most important thing. So like I said, brothers and sisters, it is that string. If the string is not now this, with the same example, it also depends that how strong is that string. Sometimes that string is very thin, very fragile, it just breaks, right? But sometimes the string is very strong, and it doesn't break, and it keeps these beads together for a longer duration of time, for a longer period of time, and you will have it, right? So the string is very important. that taqwa is very important. If this God wariness and this God consciousness is strong, it will keep all of our amal together. So the first thing Hazrat Amir lays the foundation of wasiyat. He says, Usika bi taqwallah. The first thing he says, taqwa, right? As the Quran also says that Alif Lam Mim Dhalikal Kitab La Rayba Fi Hudan Lil Muttaqeen. The Quran is a book of guidance for Muttaqeen. So if there be a person who is practicing taqwa, then the Quran is guidance. If a person is not practicing God consciousness, God wariness, then that Quran is not guidance. So Hudan lil Muttaqeen, that is the very beginning of the Quran that it talks about. Hazrat Amir, the same way, has, you have Quran Samit, you have Quran Natiq. The Nutq, the Quran that speaks, is Hazrat Amir. Quran is with you, O Ali, and Ali is with the Quran, and they both will never separate from each other. The Prophet have mentioned that. Al-Haq, Haqqu ma'al Ali, wa Aliul ma'al Haq. The truth is with Amirul Mu'mineen, and Amirul Mu'mineen is with the truth. But the important part of this hadith is that wherever Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen turns, the truth turns that way. So therefore, Hazrat Amir is that string of that truth. Hazrat Amir is that string of that Quran. You see, is that string of that truth. His actions, his speech, what he is saying becomes hujjat, becomes a proof, the same way as the Quran is a proof, the Quran is a hujjat, right? So the teachings of the Masumeen alayhi salam is that. Now, having said that, we also keep in mind, because there could be a possibility of weak traditions, weak sayings, things that have reached us might kind of deter with the Quran. So the Masumeen alayhi salam, they themselves have said that anything goes against the Quran, throw it on the wall. If our sayings, if our sermons, if our actions which is recorded goes against the Quran, throw it on the wall. Therefore, Ahl Bayt alayhi salam says that, Quran, something that is divinely protected by God, that is, of that sort of caliber. But at the same time, Al-Haqqu ma'al Ali wa Aliul ma'al Haq, and wherever Ali turns, Haq turns that way. Now, Usika bi taqwallah, as Hazrat Amir says. And then after that, wa iqam as-salat li waqtiha, establish the prayers on its time. Brothers and sisters, this month of Ramadan provides us with that opportunity. It brings us in our life that barakah, that blessing. The fragrance of the month of Ramadan is that, the fragrance is that وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ لِوَقْتِهَا, that one must establish the prayers on its time. And this month of Ramadan provides us with that. Fajr time, on time. Zohar prayer, on time. Maghrib prayer, on time. At least for sure, a person does 3 prayers on time. That is Fajr, that is Maghrib and Isha. They are on time for sure. Sometimes it could be possible that he's at work, he's driving, he's this side, he's here, he's there. He might, the possibility of the Zohrain prayer being delayed is there. But the Maghribain prayer on time, the Fajr prayer on time. The fragrance of Ramadan is that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that it is perhaps brings God wariness and God consciousness. And the fragrance of Ramadan is that it provides us with establishing prayer on time. See, taqwa, and then after that is that prayer. If there is no taqwa, that prayer is pointless. The Quran clearly says that, Wailun lil musallin. The Quran says, wow unto those who are praying, musallin, those who pray, those who are establishing prayers, right? For them, the Quran says, wow unto them, because this prayer is without taqwa. This prayer requires taqwa. Now, Hazrat Amir didn't mention that established prayer, وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ only. But he said, إِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ لِوَقْتِهَا. He said, on its time. Praying on time is very important. The month of Ramadan teaching us, and we hope that the barakah, the blessing of the month of Ramadan remains with us till we pray on time. And then, it is in Salat tanha anil fahsha wal munkar wa lidhikrullahi akbar. Isn't it so? The prayers is by which one is protected from evil, is protected from corruption. If a person is praying, he will be protected from evil and corruption. Now, let me give you an example. Alhamdulillah, we have the husn zan. We have the benefit of doubt. All human beings are good, regardless of what they believe in. When you speak to them, when you become friends with them, your neighbors, your friends, the people who go to school, they might not be Muslim, not necessarily that, we tend to have this sort of, some sort of, understanding that only Muslim people are good. No. You would find some of the so-called Muslim are the worstest of all people. When we look at this news, what's going on, in the Middle East, in Syria, in other places, we're really shocked that their names are these names and they act in that fashion, right? The recent killing of the innocent, in Orlando, for example, people who were killed by this guy who considered himself to be a Muslim, who himself have issues, who was perverted, right? But what comes out? Oh, he was a Muslim, right? So unfortunately, these people are not Muslims. Taking innocent life is not an action of a Muslim person. Innocent life to the extent, I remember, may Allah bless my grandma, she used to tell me that when she is doing wuzu in the sink, she looks at it. If there are some ants there, she will not do wuzu unless those ants move away, so that her water of making wuzu doesn't kill the ants. May Allah bless her soul. These are the values that true Muslim and Muslimah, true parents install in their children. What that has to do with an ant being flown away, for example? Okay, one time is that one sees an ant, doesn't really care, makes wuzu, right? But the point is that diqqat. The point is that tawajjuh. The point is that focusing, that a person goes to the sink in order to make wuzu, sees some living creatures, says, no, I will not do it, right? These are the values that are installed in us by the teachings of Islam, by Amirul Mu'mineen, by the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, and our grandparents and our parents have installed these values in us, right? This is what it means to be a true Muslim. Yes, when it comes to practice, we are lazy, we fall short, we are nowhere near what our parents have practiced. We are nowhere near in terms of what our grandparents have that iman. We have to accept it. And then by accepting it, we have to improve it. Because once we accept that, that arrogance that a person has, that nafs, is put in its place. If we don't accept and we say, oh Papa, what do you mean? I went to Qom and I went to Najaf and I studied, and my grandparents, he was bichare, he was, he little bit Quran, he read this. No, that's not the case. The sincerity, the iman, the belief, that substance, it's very difficult to find that. That one kiss of my grandfather, of my father, at the door of the haram is much better than the 45 minutes of ziyarat Jame Kabira that perhaps I recite. You see, that I recite. That one kiss with that sincerity and iman. Kuja, me sitting there reciting 8 pages of ziyarat Jamia Kabira, and within that, all over the place, when it will finish, right? So therefore it's quite important. So sometimes we have this in back of our mind that, all Muslims, they are all good. They are brothers and sisters. Yes, they are, but all human beings are good. Our neighbors may not be Muslims, our friends, our colleagues at workplace, but you sit with them, you speak to them, you say there's a lot of goodness that is there. Some people are really good, pure, sincere. But what I'm trying to say here, the point is, there could be Muslims as well, they are Muslims, born Muslims, but when it comes to the practice, they are lazy. They don't want to practice. But they are very good. They give charity, they are kind, their heart breaks, they are not racist, they are very good in terms of their substance. But maybe in hijab, maybe in salat, maybe in fasting, they fall short, right? This doesn't mean that they are evil people, if they are not doing that. So we should cut our relationship, we should not speak to them, so on and so forth. That's not the case. But let me rest my case. Let me finish my point, because we are reaching to the end of the program and we'll continue with the wasiyat. Very good people, but the salat, the prayer, is something that protects you from fahsha and munkar, from evil and corruption, from fahsha. A person might be very good in the heart, but sometimes they act in a very corrupt way, in a corrupt way in the sense that could bring about corruption, in a fahsha way, right? In terms of their dressing, in terms of their clothing, very good at heart, doesn't know anything about fahsha, walking on the street, doing whatever, but the reaction, which is bringing about, is evil. Unfortunately, they don't want that. They don't have any intention of that. For example, they say, what is this hijab? Men should control, right? Yes, very good at heart. It has to do with the heart. No need of hijab, I'm on the street, whatever, half naked or whatever, I don't need, they should control it, not me. But this action of yours is bringing about some sort of evil. Not that you want it, but it is happening. But once you iqam as-salat, as they say, salat is the one which protects you from fahsha and munkar. This is what it means. That if a person establishes prayers, automatically he is also protected, and unintentionally the evil that this person wants to spread, that is also protected. A politician, a human rights activist, doing his best giving his life, standing in the front line, being bulldozed by, those who are occupiers. But sometimes slips. Sometimes some fahsha act, sar mizane dige, sar zad, some fahsha act is carried out by them. You see, but this protects the protecting layer, because all of this good deed, all of these good actions, what this person have done, with this one little fahsha act, is down the drain. Soap operas, as we have, these magazines, some person, good actor, donated so many things, such a nice person, for human rights, so on and so forth. One little fahsha act, all of that he has done is gone. Nobody really talks about that 80% of good things that the person have done, but this one little, evil thing, that this person have, everybody talks about only that, you see. So a person is potentially good, right, as a human being, but that requires a coating, that requires a protection, and that is salat, that is prayer. Now it becomes nur ala nur, light upon light, when it is wa iqam as-salat li waqtiha, when it is established on prayer. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alayhi tahirin. Ghafarallahu lana wa lakum. Wa salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for being with us. Fragrance of the month of Ramadan, and we'll continue on the wasiyat of Amirul Mumineen in our next program as well. Thank you and goodbye from Hidayat. Thank you very much.